Welcome to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. Have you ever asked a question? Have you ever been in a classroom, been curious, or ever wanted to teach and learn? Then you're in the right place, because I have questions. Hi, I'm Mike Ruland. I've been a business owner, a soldier, an educator, a husband, a father. I am full of ADHD and am experiencing the negative effects of long COVID. But I've spent the last 2 decades working in the public school system as a teacher, coach, mentor, and administrator. I'm very passionate about being curious, about being educated, and most importantly, about having questions. Join me on my journey as I share stories, talk to some fun and inspiring people, gain insights to being a better teacher, a better student, and maybe even a better human. I hope you're ready because I have questions. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today? Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. So today I have something different. Definitely something different than you're used to. So hang with me. Today happens to be this Veterans Day. And I just want to take a little side trip here and tell every single veteran, thank you. Thank you for your service. Today, I will be substituting my normal guest with a recording of a speech I gave to a middle school. Happens to be the middle school where I worked the last 2 years before having to resign. And they asked me back to give a speech for their Veterans Day Assembly. So I hope you like it. So let's get going. I hope you're ready because you know what? I have questions. First, what is Veterans Day and how is it different than Memorial Day? Well, Memorial Day is a day to remember all service members who died in battle or from injuries sustained during a battle. It was started after the Civil War and was originally called Decoration Day because it was a day set aside to decorate the graves of fallen soldiers. Veterans Day is a day set aside to honor and thank all of those who have served or are serving in the U.S. military. It was originally called Armistice Day because it marked the end of World War I. So, how many veterans are there that you should thank? Well, the Veterans Affairs estimates there are just over 15 million veterans living in 2025. I am one of those veterans, although I don't consider myself as having been a very good soldier. I'm pretty sure lots of others would confirm that. I don't know what it was, but for some reason, I seemed to always push the boundaries a little. Shocking, I know. Probably not much different than I've done for most of my life. I joined September of 1983 with a high school buddy, Todd. Todd is actually still in the military, 42 years. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Good on you, my boy. Good on you. We went to Fort Leonard Wood together and then spent the next years bouncing around the North Dakota National Guard. I think we were together for 6 of those years. And then I moved into a different job and then moved out to Washington State to spend the last year or so of my guard duty in Washington State. So just a little background. That's it. Nothing big. So I want to introduce you to my speech. So, as I mentioned, my old middle school where I worked touched base with me and asked if I would come back and provide the speech during their Veterans Assembly. They have been working this month on helping their students learn to be courageous. And so I wrote this speech based off of that. As you are listening to it, I think you'll be fine. If you're watching it, you're going to see the camera view is a little janky, but I rely on kids. This is a bunch of middle schoolers who knock things out of the park. They do so well, but the camera is just a little a little off. I'm in it, so you still get to see the beard and the hair, but otherwise, I hope you enjoy. So without more stumbling, here we go. Well, good morning. Morning. Hi, Mr. Ojeda. Well, good morning, Cold Bears. Wow. I've missed you guys and I've missed this place. I think the microphone was coming to get us. So, for those of you that don't know, I am Mike Ruland, and just a little over 42 years ago, yikes, I became a member of the United States Army. I joined the North Dakota National Guard as a 17-year-old high school student. I was young. I actually had to have my mommy and daddy sign me up because I wasn't old enough yet. But in the end, I served for 9 years. I never served in a combat zone, but combat zones do not define a military veteran. A military veteran is born that day you raise your right hand and take an oath to solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So, I recently read an article that said Veterans Day is an opportunity to acknowledge the courage of veterans' service to our country. It's funny. I really don't think very many veterans would tell you they were courageous. Most will tell you they're doing their jobs. At least that's how I think. I told you I wasn't ever in a combat zone, but in the late 1980s, my company was sent to Honduras to build a road. The catch is that that country of Honduras and the country of Nicaragua, which is right beside it, were at war at the time. It was called the Contra War. Anyway, we were sent to Honduras to build this road. Funny thing, we carried our loaded M16s with us when we were building the road. It kind of made for a weird shovel. But one morning, my squad woke up like we always did. But on this morning, our orders were to go to a local village and do a mine sweep. That day was a ribbon cutting ceremony for this road construction that was happening, and they were worried that some landmines had been planted to stop the ribbon cutting. Back then, doing a mine sweep was not an easy job. All we had was a metal detector and a pointy stick and our deep knowledge of mines. So doing a mine sweep really wasn't easy, nor was it safe. The thing is, though, that morning, I know none of us thought what we were going to do. And then what we end up doing was courageous. It was our job, and we had trained very hard at our job. By the way, there were no landmines. It was just another Army day. So, were we courageous that day? Maybe. Were we doing our jobs? Definitely, yes. So, as I've thought back on my life as a veteran and talked with people about that, I have often been asked, was I courageous signing up to be in the military? I've never really thought of that. I, I guess I could have been, but when I look back on it, I was being very courageous. You see, I think I did take courage to take that very first step to do something that I wanted to do, not something that everybody else was doing or that my family wanted me to do. This happened to be something that I and only I wanted to do. And that is where I think my courage came from. During my time in the military, I got to see and do and experience so many things. A lot of them good, a lot of them not so good, a lot of them difficult, and a lot of them very difficult. But throughout that time, all of those things helped define who I am today. My time in the military defined how I think about our country and our lives. I think what makes our country, our military and ourselves so awesome is that we get to think for ourselves. If you ask a veteran why they served in the military, you will get as many different answers as there are veterans. So my reasons will be different than Mr. Pierce's reasons or anyone else who served. I served because I believe every single one of us deserve a great education, because every single one of us deserve the right to free speech, because every single one of us deserve the right to vote in elections, and because every single one of us deserve to be whoever we want to be in our life. During my time in the military, I did many things. I built bridges. My favorite bridge is called the Bailey Bridge. You'll have to look it up. It's super cool. I built roads. I did construction projects. I learned how to use explosives and what to use them for. I learned how to be a radio operator and set up communication systems and many other things. But those things pale in comparison to some of the other things I learned as a soldier. I learned I can do pretty much anything if my heart and mind are in the right place. I learned that my physical comforts are determined by my emotions and my intellectual thoughts. I learned that I want to help others more than help myself. I learned that teamwork is far superior to individual work. I learned to never, ever give up, no matter the circumstances. And I learned that every single time I was willing to try something new or different or difficult, that I was in fact courageous, no matter the outcome. You see, I failed many times, but I never stopped. So, with all of that, what is Veterans Day? Well, it's a day set aside to pay respect to individuals who have served and are serving in the military, dead or alive. But I want to challenge you to think a little differently. You can thank a veteran for their service, and you should. You can go to a parade on Veterans Day, and you should. You can support veterans groups by volunteering, and you should. You can visit veterans memorials, and you should. There are a lot of different things you can do. But my challenge to you is this: take advantage of what a veteran really does for you. A veteran works hard so you have the freedom to get an education. So take advantage of that and work hard at becoming educated. A veteran works hard so you have the freedom to be involved in our political process. So take advantage of that. And when you turn 18, vote. And vote in every single election. And before you turn 18, so now, learn about issues that are important to you. Then talk to your adults about those and ask them to vote. A veteran works hard to allow you the freedom of choices. So take advantage of that and make choices that are positive and caring. And a veteran works hard to allow each of us to be who and what we want. So take advantage of that and become who and what you want. And when we start doing those things, you will find that we don't need a November 11th every single year. You will find out that every single day becomes Veterans Day. So, as I get ready to wrap this thing up, I have one thing to ask of you, my troops, my pallbearers. I don't want you to go out and build a Bailey Bridge, although that would be kind of cool. I don't want you to go to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, the Rock, we called it. I don't want you to clear a minefield. Certainly don't want that. I don't want you to run communications wire for 20 miles through crazy terrain. I don't want you to peel potatoes while on KP duty. That's called kitchen patrol. That's horrible. Sucks. I want you to do this one thing for me and all the veterans that have served since the Continental Army was established on June 14th, 1775. I want you to be personally courageous. How can you be personally courageous? You be true to you. Have the courage to pursue your own ideas and interests and thoughts. You do not have to do something because your friend is doing it. Be a great friend. Have the courage to speak up for others when they can't or find it hard to speak for themselves. Be courageous. Try new things. Have the courage to try new things, even when they don't work out. Not everything is going to be easy, nor should it. Have the courage to be challenged. Have that courage. Do those hard things. Have the courage to embrace failure. Have the courage to lose and fail. Don't be afraid to lose and fail. Without those, we really will never, ever learn anything of value about ourselves. Have the courage to be kind. Have the courage to always be kind. Be kind is free. Being kind is healthy. Being kind is beautiful. Being kind is justice. And being kind is courageous. And you know what? Being courageous is the greatest gift of respect you can give to veterans. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to do something for me, troops. If you have ever heard of your family talk about a relative or someone they know that served in the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, please stand up and remain standing. If you have ever heard your family talk about a relative or someone they know that served in World War I, please stand up and remain standing. If you have ever heard of your family talk about a relative or someone they know who has served in World War II, please stand up and remain standing. If you heard your family talk about a relative or someone you know who served in the Korean War or the Vietnam Wars, please stand up and remain standing. If you've heard your family talk about anyone who served in the first Gulf War or the Iraq War or the Afghanistan War, please stand up and remain standing. If you have any friends or relatives that currently or used to serve in the military, that's the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, please stand up and remain standing. Now look around. This is who the veterans are. The veterans are all of us. We are all veterans. We all know veterans. We can all be veterans. So, with that, to all the veterans standing here today, out there living in past, thank you for giving me the courage to be me. Thank you, Tote Bears, for having me and still being so awesome this morning. Peace. Thank you, guys. Love y'all.
Today, we've been reminded what true courage looks like. Let's challenge ourselves to live with that same courage, to be kind, to be brave, and to make a difference wherever we are. Now, here's Aaron who will lead us in the retiring of the colors.
Car guard, attention. Audience, please, will the audience please rise? Car guard, forward, march. Car guard, halt. Car guard, prepare to retrieve the colors. Scout salute. Two. Car guard, retrieve the colors. Car guard, reform ranks. Color guard, retreat. Color guard dismissed. Audience, you may be seated.
As Mr. R said, remember to take advantage of what our veterans have done for us.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening to that. And super thanks to Tolt Middle School for having me. There were somewhere in the neighborhood of 600, 630 sixth, 7th, and 8th graders and about 100 adults in that gym. Those kids were so respectful, so awesome. I sure hope that you will be able to have some courage throughout your days to do something different and then acknowledge that courage within yourself. I think that is super important to what we do. So, as I say every week, if you like what I do, please subscribe to YouTube or Spotify or Apple. Like what I do, give me those likes. I'm learning why people say that. Please share me with a friend if you like what I do. As always, if you don't like what I do, touch base with me. You know by now, I have questions 2025 at gmail.com. If you're a new teacher and have a question, same email address, send it to me. Let me see what I can do. If you're any kind of teacher and you have some advice for new teachers, send that to me as well. All right. With that, I hope you have a great day. Thank a veteran, and we'll talk to you later. Oh, I was going to do a PS. I always have to do a PS. This one's very quick, though. So I've been to Arlington National Cemetery twice in my life, which is about 3,000 times not enough. It is the most amazing, solemn, amazing place. I've watched Changing of the Guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in person twice. Both times I was able to do that. And, I don't know what else to tell you. If you have a chance to do that, you have to. It just puts our world into perspective, puts us into perspective. So, everything they do there is based off of 21. The guard takes 21 steps. It's to represent the 21 gun salute. And as I was kind of curious about this, I've never thought about this. When I was in the Army, I've been to 2 funerals where they were veterans. One of them had a 21 gun salute. They are so moving and touching. But I was curious, why is there a 21 gun salute? Well, back in the day, ships, captains used to fire their cannons as a way of showing they were arriving peacefully. Nothing screams peace more than firing cannons. But it became a thing and it became acknowledged. And so countries decided that they would show peace. Everybody would acknowledge that a ship was coming peacefully if they fired their cannons 21 times. And so the military adopted that, and the 21 gun salute is actually paying respects to ships and ship captains firing their cannons 21 times as a form or sign of peace. And with that, peace and love are. This has been a production of SMEB LC Enterprises. Please give us a thumbs up, share us with others, and come back next week for another leg of our journey. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time and energy with us today. This is also a great time to reach out to someone in your life and just ask them, how are you doing? Don't wait until next week. And remember, it is always powerful to say, I have questions.